former Fulton County District Attorney and Sheriff.
Formerly a judge, and he knows a little bit about how these things go.
Mohawk Valley, legal eagle, lawman.
He is the Sheriff of Fulton County, New York. Just such an amazing guy.
This is the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.
Hey, welcome to the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet. You're listening to another in a series of cold case, missing individuals cases. My co-host today is Jenna Roth, and we'll get on with the program in a minute, but we're going to be discussing two cases. One you might have seen on Lifetime movie, Jennifer Dulos, and the other one is Michele Harris. In both of these cases, their husbands were suspects. One had a procedural history that's concluded multiple trials and appeals. And Jenna and I will be discussing these in a moment. You can listen to us and like and share on YouTube, X, Spotify, Apple, Facebook. It's important when it comes to missing persons, cold cases, and unsolved murder cases that as many people as possible hear about them and see them, because they may have information that leads to closing the case out. Whether they even remember the case or knew about it, but they'll hear something that triggers it. So again, and Jenna's here and we're ready to go. Good day, Jenna. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Let's talk. This is an interesting theme to today's show because both of these individuals, their husbands were accused of taking their lives. So let's start with Jennifer Dulos and tell us a little bit about the history of her missing, or her death and missing, and where we are today.
Sure. So Jennifer Dulos, she was a mother of five. She vanished on May 24th of 2019 after dropping her five children off to school in New Canaan, Connecticut. She had a full-time nanny that lived in the home that helped her with the children. She was estranged from her husband, so they were not divorced yet, and they did not live together. She lived in the home alone with the five children. She, again, went missing in 2019. They found her vehicle, which was a big Suburban. They found the vehicle, but no traces of her in the vehicle, or that she had been in the vehicle or near it or injured.
What, how violent or non-violent was the separation, the estrangement with her husband?
So it was said to be pretty, it was, I don't know, I don't believe, I have no right if he ever was physical or was it, but it was definitely a tumultuous relationship between the two of them. I know at one point she did take the five children when she left him to a hotel. She hired a bodyguard to stand outside her door. So there was obviously some fear there for Jennifer regarding her husband, Fotis.
Okay. So what happened in the investigation? What happened next after they completed it?
Yeah. So they, after discovering her vehicle, I'll back up a little bit. So that nanny that was full-time and helping Jennifer, she showed up to the home shortly after Jennifer dropped the children off, and she noticed pretty quickly that something was just off. Jennifer's Suburban was not there. She noticed, I believe it was her tea bag that was left out, just things that she would not normally do. She was obviously a very predictable person. She had routine. She also noticed many paper towels missing out of the pantry. And again, this nanny, she did the groceries. She knew the house inside and out. She knew the routines. So that day she was supposed to pick the children up from school, which she did, and bring them to the city, New York City, for a dentist appointment. Jennifer was supposed to meet her there, and she did not show up. And that's when she really knew something was very wrong, because it just was not like her. It wasn't in her character. She wasn't answering phone calls or text messages. So they knew pretty quickly that something wasn't right.
So what happened next? How did they go about finding her car and the circumstances about that?
So someone found the vehicle. They were able to locate the vehicle. Once they went into the home, law enforcement, they did notice there was some blood spatter in the garage, but very little. So you could, speculate, paper towels missing. Was there a cleanup? Was there foul play that happened in the garage? Again, we really, truly won't know that answer.
Okay. So when did they start targeting him, and how did they develop a case?
So they were able to, of course, with any missing person or when a wife goes missing, or the first one you look at is their partner, their spouse. So he was quickly looked at and interviewed. He also was discovered on surveillance footage, him disposing of garbage bags around the area, and I believe it was behind a restaurant dumpster. He also had a girlfriend. Her name was Michele Troconis, and they believed on the surveillance footage that he was alone until she opened her passenger side door in his truck, and they saw her bend out, lean, grab something, shut it. So that's how they knew someone else was with him in the vehicle.
Did they ever find any body parts, or?
They never found any body parts. And they checked the sewers. They checked for evidence that he could possibly have thrown down, if maybe she was down there as well. There was talk that, because Fotis was a contractor, so there was talk that maybe was she buried in a backyard, and because he was doing a lot of excavation, and he had the equipment, right? But they never found her, any trace of her, other than they did find the garbage bags in the dumpster with traces of her blood on the bags.
And then he was ultimately arrested?
He was ultimately arrested. Yes, he was. And he was charged with capital murder, and kidnapping. Now, Troconis, his girlfriend, again, she was charged as well, but she was charged with tampering with evidence in the case. Did
she plead guilty to testify, or was she convicted? Do you remember?
So she was convicted. She was sentenced to 14 years in prison.
Okay.
And another interesting, I just find this very interesting about Michele Troconis is English is not her first language. And in the footage of her in the interrogation room, she's able to speak English and communicate back and forth and do it well. Well, come trial, she had to have an interpreter. In other words, she did not know English well enough to stand trial and speak in English. I just found that to be odd.
Not uncommon for, I've had defendants in front of me who, don't understand, Your Honor, don't speak English. And then I say how much the sentence is going to be, and I tell them what the plea offer is, and they understand that. So he gets tried the first time by a jury, right?
So not Fotis Dulos, no. So he gets arrested, charged, but he commits suicide in prison.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
While he's awaiting. Okay.
Yes.
And then, so does he leave a note or anything, or?
No, he committed suicide in January of 2020, 2 days after being charged with a murder and kidnapping. So, and I believe he died in the hospital, I believe, though. So he was presumed brain dead, and he died in the hospital. Okay.
But did it take a little bit for them to charge him? It was a while, right?
Yeah, right. So because they wanted to, with any case, you want to have enough evidence, and they have it strong enough to, go to court. And so it took them, she went missing in 2019, May of 2019, and he was charged not until January of 2020. So they were taking their time. They were gathering evidence, and he was charged.
Was he cooperative or no?
So I believe at first, yes, he was cooperative. He answered questions. And then I think once the heat was really put on was when he started to stray away a bit. He lawyered up.
All right. So that case concluded itself with his suicide. And unfortunately, 5 children lost their mother, presumably by his hands if this girlfriend was helping to destroy evidence, tamper with evidence.
Right.
So it's just a sad outcome. But that just, that reinforces the studies in the law that tells us that, the first suspect is the boyfriend or husband when a female goes missing or is murdered. And that's even true today. We see that. And, there's a saying in law enforcement, sometimes your first thought is actually correct, your gut instinct, and sometimes things aren't as they appear, but a lot of times they are. You're listening to the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet. Our guest today is Jenna Roth, and this is one in a series of cold case, missing persons, and just interesting criminal cases. We talked about Jennifer Dulos, who went missing after driving her kids to school in the morning. Her estranged husband was arrested, and he committed suicide in the jail within days of her arrest. Please listen to us, share and like us on YouTube, X, Spotify, Facebook, Ramble, I always forget the 2, and any other premium podcast platform. Our next case today that Jenna was studying up on is Michele Harris. And again, the common thread that we're looking at in today's program is husbands or lovers or significant others and their connection with missing or murdered females, their significant others. So tell us a little bit about when Michele Harris's case happened and what happened with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michele Harris, she was a mother of 4. She was separated, not divorced yet, but separated from her husband. It was said to be a bitter divorce, so it wasn't, of course, amicable between the two, and they had financial disputes over custody, assets, and Michele went missing September 11th, 2001, which of course we know that date. And she worked as a waitress at Lefty's in nearby Waverly. And she was last seen in the parking lot by coworkers, and she was never seen again. They did find her minivan abandoned near the driveway of her home with the key still in it. Michele, nowhere to be found. And there's been no activity on her phone, credit cards, bank accounts, or anything such since that night.
They never found her body?
They never found her body.
Now, her husband was then tried without her body. Right. And circumstantial. So, but it's an interesting thing because he was tried and then appealed and then hung jury and things. Can you tell us the sequence of that?
Yeah. Yep. So he was tried 4 times. He was convicted in 2007 with having to be the one that murdered Michele Harris. That was overturned on appeal due to witness issues. There was a reconviction in 2009, then overturned again. There was a 3rd trial in 2015, but that ended in a hung jury. And then in 2016, he was acquitted in a non-jury bench trial, which I was hoping you could explain what that is.
So we need probable cause to make an arrest. It's got to be more probable than not that a crime was committed and the individual you're arresting committed it. It doesn't have to be absolute, and it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It has to be probable cause to believe a crime occurred and the individual you've arrested committed it. When we get to the trial stage, it is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. They either plead guilty and admit they committed the crime or a lesser offense if it's a plea bargain, or they go before a jury and they have to be convicted beyond a reasonable doubt by 12 people. Again, that's not all absolute. It's not to 100% certainty. It's got to be reasonable. So if a defense is a spaceship came down and killed her, I was just standing there, that's not reasonable. Okay, but there's some defenses like mental disease or defect, There's extreme emotional disturbance. There's alibi. There's entrapment. There are other defenses, and they come into play. But in a straightforward case like this, you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt for a conviction. So there could have been an issue with the first trial where the appellate court, which reviews the conviction, says, hey, there was something wrong with either the jury or witnesses. We're going to send it back. And then a non-jury trial is a trial where it's in front of a judge alone without a jury. Now, many defense attorneys and or defendants opt for a non-jury trial if it's a factual case. So like if it's a case that involves mental disease or defect, or if it's a case that has a lot of technical legal issues that the defense thinks a judge would rule in their favor, they would ask for a non-jury trial in front of a judge alone. Some states, we have a rotating thing. So whatever judge is next on the wheel, they try the case. Other states have one judge is assigned, and that judge stays with the case until the conclusion of the case. In any event, we do have appeals that go from the trial court to the appellate divisions to then the highest court. New York State is a little different than other states. New York State's highest court is the Court of Appeals. Every other state in the United States have the Supreme Court as the highest court. It's just by design how it was set up. And so you take into account, I had several non-jury trials before me. I had a case where a man was accused of raping his own grandmother, and they opted for a non-jury judicial trial because they thought a jury would convict him without listening to the facts or without giving him a fair hearing. Very, very bizarre case. Somebody raping or molesting or murdering their own grandmother. In this case, she lived, but he did rape her, or attempted to rape her, was convicted of attempted sexual abuse and kidnapping. Very bizarre. And so there's different reasons that you would seek a judicial trial over a jury trial. So that's something that is, it's not common, but it's not unheard of. And it's a tactical, strategic decision, generally by the attorneys. The defendant has to go along with it in order for it to happen. The attorneys just can't say we want a non-jury trial. The judge will inquire of the defendant, you're giving up your right to a jury trial. And then the defendant has to say that he wants the non-jury trial as well. So yeah, it does happen. And there's reasons, a lot of reasons for it, too many to go into because each case is on its own merits. Recently, though, we had a case where they set on an Amber Alert in New York for a little 9-year-old girl from Canada that her father claimed that he stopped at a rest stop or he was in the park and she was kidnapped by somebody in a van or a car, and they found her dead body the next day or 2 days later. And the father has been charged with murder. Whether or not he'll be convicted is something that'll happen in the future. But the motives that were released to the media through statements, whether they're true or not, the statements were that he didn't want to continue to pay support for her. He only visited her once a year. They went on vacation. And the saddest thing, one, was it was obviously most murders are unnecessary. It was unnecessary murder. And the little girl, cute little girl, she was smiling and happy with her father in the pictures they showed. So she had no clue that it was coming, I'm sure. And her mother was compliant with the court order and let the father take the child for vacation. So I imagine there were no red flags there to indicate that he was going to be a danger or could be a danger to his child. And again, he's presumed innocent until proven guilty, but there was probable cause for an arrest. So if you see something, we ask you to say something. If you see something that looks suspicious, a child being hustled into a van, into a car, strange people hanging around a public beach or a mall that just sit there for hours and follow the kids or watch them, say something to somebody. We in law enforcement would rather be bothered and it turned out to be nothing than not be bothered and then we could have prevented something. So same thing with, bombings and things. And another interesting, unrelated to cold case and missing persons, was the shooter in New York City the other day on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
where a man drove from Las Vegas all the way to New York City over some mental health issue that he blamed NFL
headquarters, right?
NFL headquarters
Mhm.
he went to. He would have been up there, but he took the wrong elevator, and he shot 4 people, killed 4 people, and including himself, and injured others. And he was mentally ill. He shot himself in the chest and said, "Please study my brain," and he left notes. But there's a gap in what's released a lot. You know, if it's a murder case and the defendant is deceased or the suspect, the police should release the motive. Motive does not have to be proved in court, but the public wants to know, why is this guy targeting these people? And what was disturbing to me is they showed pictures of him walking down the street into the building carrying a rifle. And I don't know if anyone bothered to call 911, or things are so bizarre in New York City, they don't think anything of it. But there's been no conversation that I saw publicly by the police or press about, did anyone call 911 on that? It wasn't until the shooting started that people called. And in that one, rest in peace, a police officer was killed who was working an off-duty detail in uniform. Simply killed because of his job and his uniform. He wasn't the main target of what happened. So see something, say something. We're getting ready to wrap up today's episode. I want to thank Jenna Roth for her research and input on these cases. It's fascinating, the variations that come with all these cases of murders, the cold cases, the missing bodies cases, and missing individuals. Please share, like, and subscribe on YouTube, X, Spotify, Facebook, Apple, any areas, any platforms that have premium quality podcasts. Again, we thank you for listening. You've been listening to the Rich Giardino Show with the co-host today, Jenna Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, just real quick, I forgot to, if you do have any information with Michele Harris's case, you can call New York State Police. They provided a number. It's 607-687-3961. And one other thing is her husband, Calvin Harris, did just put up a $100,000 reward a couple months ago for any information leading to her. So,
yeah, after he was acquitted the 4th time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After, yeah, it's like OJ Simpson. Hopefully, he didn't have anything to do, and maybe they will find him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I see something, say something.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, we're wrapping up for the day. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thanks so much.
Like and subscribe to The Rich Giardino Show, part of the Elite Influencer Network, wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next time on The Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.